All right, thank you very much for coming, everyone. And my name's Matt. I am one of the festival team here at Newcastle Puppetry Festival. This is the Q&A series, and delighted to welcome Nick and Chris from Paper Cinema. So please join me in welcoming them. So we're delighted to have you. We had Ghost Stories last night, and you also have a workshop that you're doing with participants today.
Halfway through. Yep.
Tomorrow. Some great stuff coming out of that. So to start, we're gonna ask about the kind of origin story of Paper Cinema. But really, it's 20 years now. So I'd love to also get a sense of kind of where you started and what you're doing now and where you might be going. So, is Chris going to start?
Yeah, I can do. Well, this goes back to I used to live in Bournemouth and Nick lived in Wimborne.
In Dorset, yeah, down south.
I shared a flat with some musicians, all in our 20s, and it was pretty bleak. One of my friends had a painting that I loved, and it was of this robot head with all these sort of weird arrows going towards it. I loved this painting. It's like, wow, it's so great. It's like, oh, my mate Nick did that, and yeah, we ended up meeting, and then through because my friend ran out of money, and I needed to pay his gas bill. I said, well, I'll pay your gas bill, but you give me that painting. So I now own that painting. But I also got introduced to Nick, and I said, I think maybe we should collaborate in some way. And you said, well, what do you do? So I make music. And he said, this really dates it, because he said, make me a tape. Which I did. So I made him a tape. Even though I was more of a mini disc man by that time.
Wow. Formats we've known.
Yeah, and then you took that tape off and listened to it for a bit, and then...
Yeah, it's a long story. I travelled around Australia, hitchhiked around Australia and New Zealand with this tape in tow. And I came back, and Chris was playing, and I got in for free because I had to hang some paintings. Another gentleman would talk about Kieran, who was putting on the night. And Chris was playing, and there was a live video feed going behind him, just as an ambient thing. And after he played, I went, oh, I can do something really funny with that. And did a video performance with it. And this random person came out called Imogen, who we mucked around together with this camera behind the bar and made grotesque images. And the promoter, Kieran, went, that's great. Have you got anything else as well? I was thinking about this kind of shadow puppetry thing, something rather. He went, great, you got 2 weeks. So I went back, and I just come back from travelling, so I was staying at a friend's, working on his kitchen table, local photocopier, cornflake packets, which we still use, best thing for making paper cinema. And although they use slightly less cardboard now, so they're a little bit more flexible than they were 20 years ago. It's probably a good thing for the planet. But and on a hard deadline, I have been known to go around on recycling days and get material for stuff. Anyhow, so it did that. The other interesting thing was I had spent the whole day trying to make articulated puppets, and my friend's daughter came back and went, "Oh, I did that at school last month. It's a lot better than yours." And I'd spent all day doing it, and I'm an adult. And she showed me, and she was good, and I was like, right, I'm not doing that. I'm going to draw my way around it. So kind of exploded drawings and exploded, different manipulations and things like rostrum cameras from Jackanory, and where you get an image from a picture and you just pan across and things, and various techniques from kind of early manga like Battle of the Planets and Ulysses 31, things like this. We did the show, and we didn't have the other founder, Imogen, who had mucked around with the people that I'd asked to do. It's a long story, but one person couldn't do it, and I said, I've just met that person, they're good, they're coming to do it. And Imogen was the third wheel with Chris's lovely music, which we kind of roughly designed about. I was very much still working on the parallel, as if it's like a paper theatre, so you know those things you'll get, and you just slide them in, and they're on sticks and slide. And I was kind of very much doing that. And Imogen went, well, there's no ground anyway. You can make your own level by wherever it goes, and just moved it in space and time, and really broke the thing out. And then after that, we did loads of gigs. Kieran nicked us for his bigger band, so we were working with an 8-piece as well as Chris, making small narratives and doing band stuff. And we toured. We just did anything, anywhere we could get to.
But all small scale stuff initially.
I mean, we did do like 6,000 at the Millennium Drone in the thing, but it was like a big club night and
The Millennium Dome.
Drome. It's now next to what was that place called? SE1. No, it's now the footings for the Shard. So it all got filled in for make the Shard. But there's a whole load of tunnels under Shunt. Yeah, Shunt. So we did Shunt and Millennium Drone, which is the arches next door. But it was like these big, huge, great big things and just bonkers. And
but short form.
No, it'd be an hour pop. This was the bigger thing, so it was like an hour set, and each song had its chorus, middle verse, and things. So it had a little narrative within each piece, but they weren't like the later, longer form stuff that we did, which is the Odyssey and the Scottish play.
So founded very much initially in music, and you were saying that you both came through the music scene rather than the puppetry scene. Can you speak to that?
Well, you were the musician rather than me.
Yeah, actually, at that time, when are we talking? Sort of early noughties, yeah.
Yeah, 1999. Because you've got Super Glider and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so you wouldn't know it, but Bournemouth had a really great music scene. There were lots of bands happening and lots of live music, and it was really, it was kind of its own thing. It was great, and that was our scene, and that's kind of where we came out of. And then we, through all the touring and stuff, you got invited to play at BAC in London.
That's the Art Centre, yeah.
And then they started like throwing commissions.
Yeah, and saying, have you ever thought about working in theatre and things like that? Like, no, do you pay? Will you pay? Yeah, we'll do it. Because we're just gig hungry people and just want to play. So, and also at that time we'd met Fabian of Future Shorts and Secret Cinema, so we were doing a lot of. So I don't know if you heard of Secret Cinema or Future Shorts, but they would do like big expanded. They later went on to do like the whole of Back to the Future with the town square and the DeLorean, and you come and inhabit the space, and they put on stuff aside. So we were very much kind of fitted that bill in that sense. So that was the bigger experience. And then later on with BAC, we were also in the immersive theatre world with Punch Drunk and Masquerade the Red Death and things like that. So
well, that was my first experience of theatre at all. I had no idea that what we were going to do, and it was a big deal, that show, and it's completely immersive. But we were in what was called a commission space, and we'd made this 10-minute piece that we played last night.
Yeah,
an Edgar Allan Poe story called King Pest.
And it was for 10 people got put into a very smaller than this, and we'd just do it for 10 minutes and then kick everybody out. And we found out that we could get over, there was like 250 people a night, but we were so quick that we could turn over and get over half them. Like David and David, the artists and directors of the Battersea Arts, are like, you're getting that many people through, it's ridiculous. We're just like, go, kick them out, go back.
Yeah. So for context, the show last night, that was a kind of amalgamation of old pieces that have kind of been strung together, right, to create this sort of new
anthology piece. Yeah.
Well, they were all things that fitted that sort of slightly supernatural theme.
Yes. Which is contrasted to the big shows, I mean, notably Odyssey and the Scottish play. I wondered if you could talk a bit about the difference in scaling up to that size, and then the decision to kind of bring it back down to a kind of 3-person and a car.
There's logistics, and there is also the technicalities and because everything's quite tight. Rehearsing and just especially with the Scottish play, because it is so just relentless. It just starts and it's 70 minutes of on it. I think there's one bit. There's one dancing bit where I'm not doing anything and I forgot a puppet and I had to run off during that section and get it because I just remade it. But it's just full on. But like everyone's cueing everybody. So in terms of when we're talking about you know, is it a music thing, is it a puppet thing? It's like, I'm a musician, but I've got paper musical instruments, and you're a puppeteer with a guitar, basically. And it's like, everyone's kind of queuing off each other. So the idea that when we're puppeteering, we're interlacing with the puppets, but also in terms of the music, it's that sometimes the music's taking the direction and sometimes they're following us and stuff like that. So it's a lovely way that everything's kind of interlinked. But with those tighter pieces, it becomes, it's just full on in that rehearsal thing. It's great when it really works and it really lands. And, you know, you've got that bit where just through practice and repetition and also the audience builds you up, you just riding a really massive wave, and it's really great. But just sometimes to get up there, and with those bigger pieces, if you took a month off, you just couldn't get that. You know, you'd need a week, well, you know, 3-4 days in a room just getting that tight to do it. If you dropped a month, well, a month you might be able to get away with like a day rehearsal, but you'd have to. So just the logistics of that bigger thing. So we in lockdown we had a Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong tour all booked, but obviously no planes, no theatres. It was like, what do we do? And it blew the tightness. So we just wanted to relax down to a kind of, we can get in a car and come here. You know, we're down from the south coast, so we all drove up the other day, and it's easier. It's, you know, just the cost of on the road is, you know, it's really low. You know, with the bigger shows where 5 on stage and then 2 tech, you know, you've got to move all that kit. I mean, it's nice with the paper cinema that we can pretty much fly, well, we can fly with it, because it's 2 silver suitcases, a guitar, and some stuff. With the Odyssey, we left a trail of occasional tables. We have to send out this, like, we need this built, you know. And, and it was quite sweet, actually, because some of the crew were coming, oh, I need a coffee table, I need one of that, you know, and fights over them at the end of the show. So, and we played, what was the one where it was made out of metal?
Georgia. We went to Georgia, and they decided to weld it all, which is quite interesting, very heavy. But yeah, so, but most of it we can just about getting on stage, you know, so it's like going back to being light, and it's fun, and it's easier to rehearse. It's like, we just do need to do that bit, whereas obviously you're in the middle of a 20-minute section, you've got to do the whole thing just to get that turned corner.
To get to that point.
It's just a bit looser on the... it'd be nice to go back up to it, but it's nice being looser.
You spoke about, so Odyssey was like 2 years in development, but and keep saying Scottish play, because you're quite suspicious about that.
I was very blasé about saying it, and I think after what has happened, I'm like, actually, I don't really want to be superstitious, but just in case.
Can you talk a bit about the challenges of making that?
We had to do it in a very short amount of time to get it done, and we also made the ghost stories before that, and so my metric is I can draw 10 minutes of screen time in a month. So to do a 70-minute piece is 7 months, and I did it in exactly 7 months. And there were like temporary fill-in puppets. Sometimes I'll just draw on the back of a cornflake packet just to go, we need that there, or we need a bit of foreground, or he needs extra legs on it. So, I mean, the nice thing is you can actually, because it's photocopied, you can zoom things up and cut things out and put extra arms in. But so even we did it in 7 months, but still went up with the odd occasional temporary puppet, and maybe puppets that had comedy tattoos written on it, which should have got moved out. I don't know if Chris remembers that one.
Oh.
It's like, Nick, can we get rid of that joke? Because I just did it for but the Odyssey was nice because it had that development time in it that was 2 years to do. But
we went through a process that was like scratching at BAC. They have a thing where you show your unfinished work, and it's a bit painful. But then you because you get to show it, you get all this feedback, and people say, "We really loved it. It's great." And then, and have you thought about doing this? And it just really helps you to evaluate it, and rather than just be completely on your own and have to make a thing that's great, you have all these chances to kind of get it wrong and fail within a safe space, and I think that's really, really useful.
Try and get it right in one go, sort of thing.
So did Scottish Play not go through quite that same
It did.
iterative?
It did. I did, but not as many. And I think we did a lot of it on the road, because it wasn't really finished when it was finished. And
Yeah.
But a few. To my mind, it's the best thing we've ever done. It's and it is very intense, and it's quite dark, and it's a lot. There's a really nice film of it, that we showed online fairly recently. We'll try and find a way to share it at some point. And we got together and watched it, and by the end of it, I was just like, oh my gosh, just really, it's very intense. And I think maybe that reflects how it was made as well.
Yeah, we definitely went for the brutal side of it, I think, and I mean, it's just the play, isn't it? I think, you know, it's just tough. You've got to inhabit it. I mean, yeah. I mean, I suppose it's the joke, but the lovely thing is the band within the paper cinema always gives themselves a nickname, and for the Scottish Play it was Mac Sabbath, you know, because it got very Tony Ioroti. Yeah, anyhow, it was just lovely. It bought itself a nice baritone guitar to get down to the heavy bits, which was, yeah, so.
Be great to open the floor to questions in a moment. Please do think of a question if you can. But not too many. But yeah, it would be great. It would be great to have a couple of questions in just a sec. I just want to touch on kind of the role of technology, and I mean, because obviously video is central to your work, but it is analog, and I guess that relationship with technology in the paper cinema, will it always be that kind of CCTV?
Closed circuit TV, yeah. That live feed, I think, is definitely, you know, being on stage and doing it live is a thing. And I think the audience really respond to live performance. And we've certainly had some comments this weekend about seeing it and doing it. And you know, it's like me watching Chris. It's like, wow, how's he doing that? You know, and that's really great. It's like, you know, and I suppose we kind of come from a punk DIY kind of thing anyway. So we were using stuff that was near the, you know, the first camera was my parents' holiday camera that I borrowed, and it has no digital latency, and it has a very good focusing and natural autofocus, which half the trick is just how we train that. So it's just on autofocus, and we go through there. But certainly now, as like iPhone cameras and things are on the secondary market, and it's possible to circuit bend them and use them. It's something that it's just not within my. I'm principally an illustrator, really, you know, and an image maker on that. And you know, there's sometimes I have seen people that are doing interesting things with mixing kit and stuff like that. It's like, maybe I just need to find one of these people and budget, and you know, yeah. I mean, we had a lovely guy working who's a 3D animator, modeler and stuff in our workshop. We're just talking about with AR, augmented reality. So that's the thing you get on the phone, so you can have a little nose and rabbits. I'd love to have a blank puppet that I can have a ping pong, so I can bring a puppet, because obviously, like, I've got to do Mona Lisa eyes, so they've got to be looking either way, and I can't have a particular shadow, because if it moves, the shadow doesn't move, sort of thing. So it's like, I would love to have a puppet with no eyes and have a ping pong bat, and I can just move its eyes like that. So it's kind of funny that you can see me waving my arms on there. I'll be looking over here at the stage and doing that, but then I could be making it and maybe turning it to blink with a ping pong bat. Or another one is to maybe take the image and have a 3D model of its face, so we could actually move the shadow on the face around, you know, but it's still a paper flat, you know. Or the other one I was talking to this guy about is an umbrella, but I have a 3D modelled umbrella, so you can have a rain shower and it splashes, but none of the rain comes down here, but it's actually 3D, although it's a 2D puppet. So stuff like that. And you know, there was talk with the greens, you know, whether we could puppeteer, you know, with the frogman suit with the balls on it. When that first came, I was like, oh, that'd be really funny to get Imogen jumping around in one of those and seeing if you could stick flat drawings on it and stuff like that, and how that would work live. So there is that, and there's a piece kind of coming up at the moment. It's going to be more textual. Whether I can get kind of automata in there, so like there's a butterfly thing and maybe some waves and so just basic. We used to visit London when I was a kid, and Mum would take us to the Mechanical Clockwork Museum, which is a whole load of makers making these kind of flying characters. You turn the handles, and they're still kind of going. I think they're based in Hastings and they're not in London anymore. I think they've got priced out of Covent Garden. But it's just these wonderful things. And it'd be really nice to have that kind of automata thing. You know, it'd be nice to kind of just have these things and not have to go through the fury of doing that and hear Chris's music and just have one of these things just going there and then mixing it with another thing and just kind of cross it. We got back to the hotel room and just saw the opening of Apocalypse Now, which is not, you know, it's not the sort of thing I really want to do, but it's a lovely kind of crossfade of his eyes and helicopters coming in and palm trees being on and the fan, and just it'd be nice to have all these automata just blend through the whole thing and stuff like that. I mean, they're lovely, and we kind of scaled up. So the Scottish play has, I think, we had some nicked, and then we reduced it because it was a hell of a wiring problem and too much. But we had 8 cameras, so we had like the central camera and another camera for the 2 major puppeteers. And then on the second station, we were rear projecting, so we were getting like Dunstaney Wood and the castle in kind of parallax, and the armies all in parallax at the same time. And then that was added, and then on that secondary station, we were doing shadow play, blood, smoke, panning shots itself, some manipulation, and then also the trippy camera feedback section. So we kind of got up to 8 there, and then we did ghost stories at the same time, and with Avis and the Witch and Wanderer, we just went back to 1 camera and just got the storytelling just that concise and lovely. And it was like, actually, maybe we don't need all these whistles and bells, you know, 2 video mixing units and switches and things.
Looks nice though, doesn't it?
It does look nice. But when I'm going, which one plugs into which one again? Don't press that, press this. Yeah, so like the simplicity, but to get bigger again would be nice. But it's just nice to be out on the road.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris?
About what, scaling up and...
Well, just technology.
Technology. There is a thing that when people think, when you've got a laptop on stage, people think you're cheating. But there's a microchip in all of my guitar pedals. There's, we're definitely always leaning on those things. But the point of it, I think the point of what we do is that people see it's exposed, our process is exposed, and you see that, and then you see the result, and you choose where you direct your attention and what you watch, and that's kind of the point. So the more we move into that sort of digital technology realm, to me, the less exciting that is. I think it's
communicating on stage, isn't it?
It's a different thing. I think if you've got a reason for doing it, it's explained what it is and why we're using it, like you say about the eyes or something. I don't know.
Is it, the performative element of the bit rather than sat behind a laptop, right? The kind of there's still a
Well, we actually used to do shows that you would be behind the audience, so the audience wouldn't be able to see.
Yeah, we didn't do that very often.
But we didn't realise.
There's a notorious one in Cargo where I couldn't see anything, and Imogen was looking over a breeze block, going left a bit, right a bit.
We didn't even realise that was something that people wanted to see.
People wanted to.
Until we were kind of forced into the position where it's like, we've got to be in front of the audience. And then it's like, people really responded to it. It's like, of course, that's what they want to see, is that.
And there's a lovely thing being on stage is we're only trying to get that image correct and with the music and that. So we don't really see the audience. Hello, how you doing? Right, come on, let's do this. Right, there you go. Get on and do it. And it's that thing, it's like, trying to make up a thing about like kind of seeing like, say, Sonic Youth or Daft Punk. It's like Daft Punk are amazing, but they do big projections and videos because they're not doing much on stage. Sonic Youth are kind of running around destroying guitars and things like this. I mean, nice light show as well. Nice light show, great.
Questions, please, for Nick and Chris. Any questions at all? Yeah, 2.
Who wrote the story of the boy in the birdcage?
Me.
And what's the inspiration?
Whew, well, it's a secret. So yeah, no, it was me, Kieran, and Sarah Cudden, who were working on that at the time, and we just brought various ideas together, and it's very much based on free association. There's a very arbitrary thing as we started it in London, and we knew we were going to do it in Edinburgh, so the train trip itself is going from London to Edinburgh. Although we've Kieran requested the I can never remember, West something viaduct, which is now the viaduct in Harry Potter where the car turns up, and so that was in there. There's a couple of poems. One I put in from William Blake, and So, but the nice thing about so it was written between us, but it kind of honed. I kind of honed. It was nice. It was a nice way of getting stories together. I remember there's a thing about Steven. I heard it afterwards, but kind of can retrofit it. It's about Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, and the other guy who worked on Indiana Jones. Like, what do you want to say? And I went, I want a boulder. I want a plane fight. I want this. It's like, great. Well, just put them there and let's piece out how they go. And so it was written kind of like that. But that's one of our own pieces, Nightfly. Yeah.
Yes, right. So following on to that, question about R&D and how do you, because there's so many different blocks, like there's the illustration, there's music, and there's stories and characters, like which comes first, or how do they stack together to come to the final thing? It's interesting of all the shows. So King Pest, we were living together like the Beatles or the Monkees, so we all were in the same house. And I broke down the script. I've actually brought this with us because this is something we're working on at the moment. So I go through the script and just do these little coloured thumbnails, and they're like, each colour would be a different puppet plane sort of thing. That sort of thing. So we were playing the Big Chill, so I managed to break it down and work it on the way there. And work out, it's just marked up like that, but mark out what's a background, mark all of that a lot out. And I'll describe to Chris, and Chris will go off and work on the music. So this is a sailing one, or you want a sea shanty here, or I think it might be that. He'll read the same material, look at the source and go, it's this and this. Nightfly, which we did with Kieran as a musician, he pretty much had 3 or 4 things that he would do: West African music, blues music, flamenco, and American minimalism. It's like, right, these are the 3 tracks. We'll base it around those rhythms and see how it goes through. With the bigger pieces, like the Odyssey, Chris will work up, well, you'll say it, but work up themes.
Yeah. Well, we just used the sort of almost an operatic technique leitmotif. So you give a theme to a character or a place or whatever, and then it makes things really easy actually working in this sort of way, because once we've got our themes, we can just sort of figure out how to arrange them with what the scenes that they've made. So we tend to do that now when it's more sort of narrative-based stuff.
Yeah, and I'll be kind of designing the characters and having a look at the storyboard. I'll be talking to the other parts of the devising company like Holly or Imogen or Arena and go, do you think this works? And then we'll kind of measure it up and then just get it together and see where it goes. And there'll be a bit where, say, Chris will need to gear up a loop or something needs to change the music. Can you make that longer? Or that doesn't read in terms of the narrative, or Chris, the Wolf on the Chandelier. Was it the Wolf on the Chandelier or the Rock God? It's like Chris had a noodly moment in the Odyssey and was like, we're building a wolf that's just
going down on the guitar, battling banjo sort of things, like just right, that needs to go in there. I'm drawing that tonight, sort of thing. So it's kind of once it's come off of the kind of playground, we start devising, then it moves backwards and forwards, and it's like, I've got too many things in my hand, can you move that? Or that's a left-handed puppet, the right-handed puppet. Where does that go? That needs a redraw, that needs to scale up.
And it never stops, does it? It's always it's always going on. Yeah, they're never finished.
No. Recutting it, or I've left one. There's one I missed out on a lovely Q&A with the brothers Quay, the animators, because I'd left one puppet at home and I had to redraw it before the gig. So I'd really like to go to that Q&A. Like, no, I just got to sit here and draw it.
True illustrator. We're out of time, but Nick and Chris are going to be around. He's doing the workshop tomorrow as well, so I'm sure they'd be happy to chat if you've got more questions, but please join me in thanking them. Brilliant.